Good Monday morning. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. Of course, a lot has happened over the weekend. We'll get you updated on that with a market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, plus other local and national stories that you need to know as well. So let's get right into it with that market watch. Let's see what the market's doing today as well. Everything is up here on this Monday morning. Obviously, the information in the Middle East with the negotiations happening, kind of keeping everybody on their toes. Treasury Department has authorized Iranian oil sales under a 60-day lease. Lease. Dow Jones right now up to 342 points. At 51,817. The S&P 500's up 33 points to 75.25. The Nasdaq's up 7 points right now, 26,525 for the Nasdaq. Then you got the Russell 2K, that small cap index, 49 points up right now to 3,012. What that's trading as, that's over the 3,000 level here as well. Bitcoin making a rebound, but still in that 65,000 range. So up from 63,000 as we saw it on our last day last week here before Juneteenth. Of course, markets closed on Friday. 65,374 is what Bitcoin's trading at here today. And again, Monday, 3-day weekend for the market with Juneteenth on Friday. And kind of what we're looking at here this morning. It's all stammered around the progress that's happened in the Iran-U.S. peace talks. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. First stock we're looking to this morning, we're going to look at a biotechnology company called Apogee Therapeutics is what we're going to look at. They're up, look at this, 46.81% today, folks. Yeah. They, AbbVie is another company. They actually confirmed they will acquire Apogee Therapeutics. The $10.9 billion transaction. So big numbers here. It will see AbbVie acquire all outstanding shares of Apogee for $135.11 in cash. It's a 49% premium compared to Thursday's close. AbbVie said the acquisition will accelerate its presence in the respiratory space, and its shares were up about 1% from their side. So Apogee, though, the one being purchased, up 46.82% right now. Now we got Arcosa out there. That's the stock we're going to look at, 7.24% up right now. Building materials company CRH, they announced it was acquiring Arcosa for $8.5 billion. It's an all-cash transaction. It's going to value shares of Arcosa at $150, which obviously is a little bit of a premium here because it's trading at $145 now, but that is 10% up from Thursday's close. CRH said Arcosa's construction products business will help complement the company's existing portfolio out there. So a couple big sales happening with companies here being announced over the weekend and into this morning. Then finally, we're going to look at SpaceX again. Yes, just hit the market a week ago as of Friday, down 8.10% as of right now. They're on its way here today if it stays down for its sixth trading session on the NASDAQ. It's fell more than 5% in pre-market, 8% here since the market's been open today as well, which means shares are off 13% since their closing high on Tuesday. They're still up 30% compared to the IPO price, though. Remember, that was $135. But there's definitely a sell-off happening here over the last since last Tuesday of the SpaceX stock. And again, down another 8% here today. Like I said, 5% in pre-market, 8% once the market's opened. We'll have to see if this continues to slide here, SpaceX, as we, look at that hot stock out there as well. Later on when we come back, we're going to look at Getty Images, Alphabet, and then Chevron. We're going to look at those stocks here coming up as well, all making news here on this Monday morning as well. But first, let's get you updated on what's happening in Switzerland here now as the negotiations continue. Iran, they came out and said that there had been major progress, was their words, in an all-night discussions with the United States. Of course, these two sides are trying to reach a peace deal within the next 60 days is the time of that memorandum of understanding, 60 days. Plenty of obstacles do remain in this process, including, one of the big sticking points right now is Israel's war with Lebanon against Hezbollah, which is funded by Iran as well. At one stage on Sunday, Iran said it would suspend the talks and threatened to walk out of them altogether, but they never actually did so. That was after President Trump threatened military action against Iran over its funding of the proxy groups in the Middle East. Then this morning, early this morning, Monday, Iranian foreign minister came out and said the mediators, Qatar and Pakistan, they'd managed to ease some of the tensions over Lebanon. He added Iran was beginning to see financial benefits from last week's memorandum of understanding. So they're seeing the benefits such as waivers of U.S. sanctions on its oil exports and even assets in countries such as Qatar being unfrozen. And I told you the Treasury has done a new lease here for them to be allowed to sell the oil for 60 days as well, as of this morning. Pakistan and Qatar, and in their joint statement from them, they spoke on encouraging progress, was their wording. They said Iran and the U.S. had agreed to establish a high level committee to oversee the talks, as well as working groups dealing with nuclear issues and sanctions on Tehran. There will also be a deconfliction cell kind of put together. That's going to help ensure the cessation of military operations in Lebanon. Iran and the U.S. have set up a communication line to what they say avoid incidents and miscommunication, all that related to the maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. When they announce that it's just closed out of the blue when it's not, like they did over the weekend. And that's where, Strait of Hormuz shipping volumes have picked up in recent days, obviously still low compared to pre war levels as of this morning here. Iran is ramping up its oil exports because the U.S. lifted that naval blockade that was squeezing them and their economy over in Iran. So Iran's seeing some pressure being taken off of it, and they're responding with these communications over there in Switzerland. J.D. Vance is kind of leading it. He said he's only going to be there a couple days, but he's over there getting it started. And we'll have to see where it goes because the market, traders are weighing what's happening over there in this deal process as well. Now let's stay international here because China came out, not just China, but France also in a separate incident. But China this morning announced sanctions on 10 American military related companies, all in response to that U.S. move that we just did recently that does bar some leading Chinese tech companies from their defense contracts. The Commerce Ministry did say Chinese companies would be blocked from exporting dual use items to the 10 U.S. companies. They include military drone makers, some involved in rare earth mining as well. If you don't know what dual use means, it refers to goods that can have military and non military applications. We did this to a bunch of companies in China. They're just retaliating at this point. The China military ministry, said the export ban was both to safeguard China's national security and in response to what it called the U.S. government's wrongful expansion of its so-called list of Chinese military companies, including the company Alibaba, as well as one of those on that list that they are saying will not, is on this list. And Alibaba, right? Big Chinese company sells items and things like that. So it is fascinating to see, China's companies added to the list, and now they're retaliating. But like I said earlier, China was not the only one that did it. France, their ministry said the government entities would be prohibited from buying products from 46 American companies, including multiple units of our defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics. Now, France did not give any reason for the prohibition, but they did say 46 companies for them. So interesting times happening right now overseas with the listing of these companies out there. And I'm having computer problems here, folks. So I apologize for me looking like I'm leaning off, looking off to the side here as well as everything just reset on my teleprompter. And so we'll get this loaded up and keep rolling here as well. And so that's all the international stories that we've got. Obviously, affects companies reporting and affects what we see here on the United States side. And if you're traveling this summer, folks, I've got an interesting story for you here. And I've told you before about beef prices. Now, we're going to talk airlines here in a second, but I've told you before there's no incentive for the cattle industry to lower the pricing of its beef when we are continuing to have high demand with the elevated price out there. We are trading them, we're willing to pay this much. The same thing has happened in the airline industry. The price of jet fuel has dropped to its lowest level since the start of the Iran war on February 28th. Lowest levels. Now, you know this because if you booked a flight lately or follow this program, we've told you to offset the higher fuel costs. Many airlines increased fare prices and fees, some adding a fuel surcharge to the cost of a ticket to help them out. Jet fuel reached a high of $4.88 per gallon back on April 2nd, but it's now dropped to $2.70 a gallon as of June 18th, but just a few days ago. Now, we get that from the Argus Jet Fuel Index. At the start of this year, the price was $2.11 a gallon, so still really elevated, but not as elevated as it was back on April 2nd. So why aren't airfares coming down? Well, for the same reason beef prices aren't going to anytime soon. If you remember the average, well, before the Iran war, gas was $2.11 for jet fuel. And just prior to the Iran, the average fare for an international flight was $774. That was on February 23rd. You get that from Kayak Flight Search Data, where they had found this information. Fares spiked to an average of $1,105 on May 4th, dropping back down to $980 earlier this month in June 8th to be specific. That's obviously higher to prior than the war, more than 20% higher from the same time last year for international travel. Now we've got this peace framework. Now we've got these negotiations going on. Jet prices are falling. We've established all of that for you here as well. But what are airlines saying? Well, they claim you can't just switch a flip, flip a switch, excuse me, to get the industry, the oil fields, refineries, the people that make jet fuel, just back up and running. It takes some time, they say. So they don't want to lower the prices and have jet fuel go back up again and then be caught in that situation. And then there's still question marks on if the peace deal is actually going to hold out there. So they don't want to lower them and then have to raise them back up. But folks, I contend to you, airlines are keeping airfares elevated because they're trying to recoup their losses that they've had as jet fuel has spiked, and it's taken away their profit margins. And that's why they're going to keep them elevated for a little bit, is make up the money that they lost while jet fuel was high. U.S. Airlines lost $1 billion in the first quarter of 2026, according to Bureau of Transportation statistics out there. Make no mistake about it. They're not lowering them. Same thing with the beef. Same thing with anything that's elevated here. You've taught them you'll pay the price. They're going to keep them high, folks, until you stop buying airline tickets. As a whole, then they'll start to lower them down. So interesting times around the metrics of course, the market and airline prices out there. Now, we have a report here from the Joint Center of Housing Studies over at Harvard University. It's a State of the Nation's Housing report out there. Came out last week, and it found that existing home sales remain near the lowest level in 3 decades, and that was first reached in 2023 at that time frame. Sales of new homes remained relatively unchanged. Rental retention rates rose, and new occupancies actually declined. New construction starts did dip 1% over the last year, driven by that 7% decline in single-family starts. The rate of growth of homeowner households declined by half and caused homeownership rates to decline for the second straight year. Then, the year-over-year increase in the number of renters in the first quarter of 2026 was less than half of what it was just a year earlier. Now, a lot of this has to do with economic uncertainty out there. It's weighs the weight on housing demand, unemployment growth, or employment growth has been slowing from a gain of 1.5 million in 2024 to just 116,000 in 2025. You guys know this consumer confidence has dropped by more than 20 percentage points in the last year. It fell further in the first part of 2026, all due to that Iran war. And as I told you here in the April numbers, it was the all time low in consumer confidence in April's. Now, all of that together, plus, as you know, the high cost of the homes, lack of affordable housing options, they're all contributing to that weaker demand. Households are struggling with the high home prices and the interest rates out there as well. So this report from Harvard said the median prices for new and existing homes, they're both over 400,000, and that existing home prices have risen 54% since 2020. They're about 5 times the actual median income. That's well above the ratio of 3 times that prevailed back in the 1990s. Mortgage rates continue to be over 6%. It makes the payment on a median priced home $3,100 in the fourth quarter of 2025. That's up from $1,700 in the early 2020. I don't know how you can afford that. I don't understand how people pay $2,200 for rent out there as well. Yeah. So obviously the income, when you have prices like that, $3,100 for a new home, it's pushed the income needed to afford that payment to more than $120,000 a year. That's a huge increase. 66,000 was the requirement back in 2020 for that time frame. So it's big differences here right now, and that's what's kind of dragging this market down and what we're dealing with as well. And then, folks, over the weekend, you might have been somebody that went and saw this over the weekend. Toy Story 5 out there. Of course, the fifth installment of the Toy Story series. It debuted with $160 million in domestic ticket sales. Now, this is all due to studio estimates that come out on Sunday night. Easily, not even close, setting a new franchise record and notching the biggest opening weekend of 2026. Now, 31 years after the original Toy Story first came out, it far surpassed the previous series' best debut. Back then, it was $120 million for Toy Story 4 in 2019. Now, not only was it successful here in the United States, it was successful internationally as well. $152 million in the opening weekend sales internationally. So, worldwide haul in $312 million for Toy Story. Toy Story, one of the most profitable franchises in all of movie land, but specifically for Walt Disney Company. Before Toy Story 5 did launch this weekend, the movies had collectively grossed more than $3 billion, pulling in billions more from merchandising, the story, the toys, and other items out there. Now, remember they were ending this trilogy back in Toy Story 3. They revived the franchise about a decade later for Toy Story 4, but it's been extremely profitable for them as well. Toy Story 4 exceeded $1 billion in ticket sales. Toy Story 5, well, it's going to easily hit that number if it's already open in one weekend at $312 million as well. Only 2018's Incredible 2 had an bigger opening weekend than Toy Story 5. That was $182.7 million for Incredibles 2 as well. Number 2 was Disclosure Day, that Steven Spielberg movie. It was in second place, moved down to second place, $17 million in its second weekend. Now, the problem is that's a bigger drop than what Universal Pictures was hoping for. They dropped 61% from its first weekend. So that means the legs on Disclosure Day probably aren't going to be there moving forward. Now, The Death of Robin Hood, the other opening movie this weekend, kind of the violent retelling of the Robin Hood story. It was terrible this weekend. $2.6 million on 1,762 screens for that movie. Yeah, Jackman's in it and everything. A very bloody movie as they retell the Robin Hood story. It was budgeted at only $20 million and still only came in at $2.6 million. That's going to have a hard time hitting its profit number, even with that low budget amount out there, folks. When we come back here, we got one local story for you. on Arizona State Parks and Trails, plus a lot of other things. We'll get you to know about, including we got some food stuff coming up. M&M's doing what everybody else is doing. Get rid of the artificial colors. I'll have to see how that works out. I'll tell you all about that. Plus more. So come on back. It's McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum on Business, Monday edition. We got the teleprompter computer back up. We'll see if that continues to stay up here as well. But folks, we appreciate you joining us. Hopefully your Monday is going a little bit better than that. Of course, as soon as we're done here, appreciate you joining us live, of course, on YouTube as well here. I know we're right in the heart of vacation time with July 4th coming up next week as well. So we appreciate you finding the time to watch us here as well. And catch us live here on YouTube. TME Media AZ is where you can find us. Then, of course, as soon as we're done here, we get the shows up on demand as well on YouTube. And also over on Rumble, rumble.com/user/TME Media, where you can find all of our shows. There's a channel button there that you can click on to find the show that you'd like to watch if you prefer Rumble over YouTube. Of course, we also have free podcast systems for all of our shows, except for this one. Right now as well. Everything has social media except for the Real Matrix and this one as of right now. We're adding this one up here shortly as well, but appreciate you guys joining us here at TME Media AZ on YouTube. And then we go right into the main event where Dale Hellestree is off today, the 17-year NFL veteran. So I'll get you updated on the sports world over the weekend. World Cup, Diamondbacks talk. We're going to get into it all, right? Live here on YouTube, 8 to 10 a.m. on TME Media AZ. Of course, if you can't watch us live, catch us on demand as well. They're on Rumble or over on YouTube as well. Pit Stop will be up this Wednesday as well, like it is every week. Out there, we, of course, look back at the Naval Base race this weekend. Some interesting things happened, and it's an inaugural race there. I'm not sure if they'll go back there again. Kind of flawed in some of its racing, but we'll talk about that coming up on Wednesday. Make sure you join us for the Pit Stop. On demand, of course, on YouTube and on Rumble as well. And with that being said, let's not delay at all. Let's get right back into that Market Watch. And like I said, everybody's just kind of weighing the Iran deal progress that started last night in Switzerland, where everybody meeting. Dow Jones right now up 320 points. S&P 500 up 13 points right now. NASDAQ is the one. It was at the top of the show, it was about 1 point up at that point. It's 133 points down here today, the NASDAQ is. Then you've got the Russell 2K up 34 points right now. So it has come down because it was over 3,000 when we looked at that earlier in the show. And then Bitcoin, even though it is up today, is coming down as well. It was 65,000 when we looked at the market earlier. 64,965 for Bitcoin here today as well. So Bitcoin finding a nice little levy here at the mid 60,000 range here lately for them. Stocks we're paying attention to right now. Let's look at Getty Images. They're up big today, 95.84% up. I could tell you this earlier today, it was up over 150%. There's been a little bit of a sell off since the market's open, but they announced an agreement with OpenAI. They announced it all on yesterday, on Sunday morning. Getty Images content will appear on OpenAI search and ChatGPT. Even with the search, Getty's market cap remains well below $1 billion, even though they're obviously getting put up there on ChatGPT now. More exposure, more money for them in this deal. Getty Images up big today, 93.36% here today. And then let's talk a little bit Alphabet here. Of course, Google, YouTube's parent company as well. They were down 4.54% here today. A researcher, and this has been a trend for Alphabet lately, a researcher left Google's AI laboratory and they moved over to Anthropic on Friday. Why is this significant? Well, he left Google's DeepMind just days after Vice President of Engineering at Google. He announced he was joining OpenAI. There's an exodus of people leaving Google's AI arm and moving over to their competitors, OpenAI for the vice president of engineering, and now a researcher left and went to Anthropic on Friday. Some trends happening here in the Alphabet AI department, 4.68% down for Alphabet today here on the market. And then let's look at Chevron out there. You know them, energy, down 0.22% right now. They announced it will fuel a Microsoft data center in West Texas. They're going to do so with natural gas. It's a 20-year agreement. It'll serve a data center that's called Project Kirby. It's estimated the data center will consume 2.7 gigawatts of electricity. It's expected the data center would start receiving power in 2028. That announcement out there. Now, Chevron has dropped as the day has gone on. It opened earlier about 1.5% up. Big sell-off here for that. If you're paying attention to us or watching us here, you see the big drop on the graph there on your screen as well. So Chevron selling off after that big news earlier today. And, lots of movement here on the stock market in terms of that Micron Technology. We don't have graphs on these, just to give you a heads up. Micron Technology is up about 4%. It received two price target heights between two companies as well. Obviously, memory stocks are, expected with demand being, or demand being extremely high for these, supply being low for these memory products. These types of stocks are up, continuing today as well from that trend here on the market. And now let's get into one local story, and then we'll just get you through the day here on other things you should be paying attention to, including if you're a Rolex fan. Boy, they got a present for you if you're interested in spending that kind of money. But first, here in Arizona, Arizona State Parks and Trails, well, they supported $555 million in statewide economic activity. This is all according to the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension Study that was released earlier this month. Despite receiving zero taxpayer funding to run its more than 30 parks, the Arizona Trail State Park Agency, let's say, I just forgot the name of it. It supported $18 million in state tax revenues and another $14 million in county and local taxes as well. The report also found the park supported more than $273 million in gross state product, $151 million in labor income, and about 3,000 jobs across the whole state of Arizona. Now, this study shows that total expenditures by non-local visitors, well, it's jumped roughly 24% since 2020, obviously signaling higher overall spending across the state from people coming and visiting us as well. Of the $355 million spent directly by park visitors in 2025, well, that influx generated about $99 million in business-to-business activity, another $102 million in household-to-business transactions. Now, the parks pull a steady crowd from outside Arizona boundaries. 34% of visitors come from out of the state. 3% visit internationally to our state parks. The vast majority of park goers, though, are Arizona residents. The data marks the first major update since the last economic impact study was conducted back in 2020. So 5 years has roughly passed to 2025 when they got the data. Overall park visitation actually dipped and went down by about 4%, which means we're back to pre-pandemic numbers here as well. Remember, pandemic, everybody was just itching to get outside and go to those parks, pushing those numbers up. The massive numbers do follow a broader trend of outdoor recreation boosting the state of Arizona. A 2024 Bureau of Economic Analysis study found that outdoor recreation across Arizona, it commands an annual economic impact of $15.4 billion dollars and supports more than 118,000 jobs at that level. So outside here, especially in the wintertime, I imagine, driving a lot of money into the states as well. And we've heard rumors of this next thing that's happening. We've heard rumors of it happening. I can tell you it's happening out there. It's amazing the way it's all based around the algorithm, make no mistake about it. But rideshare services, Uber and Lyft, well, Consumer Reports found that they will charge different customers different rates for the exact same rides, even when they are ordered at the same time. Yeah, Consumer Reports came out with this claim over the weekend, and both companies obviously denied the allegations in detailed responses. They have a ton of excuses why, and I believe them, but it has to do with their algorithm allowing it to happen. Yeah. They basically laid out how their pricing practices work in the response. Lyft, they describe price differences based on demand as a feature, not as a bug, as how they did it as well. They basically say if two people order at the same building, same time, same destination, they're saying that's two demand things there, which makes the first one that does it gets that lower price. The second one, well, now there's demand there, so they raise the price on it. Their algorithm, two people at the same building, causing the second person to get the higher rate. It's all based around their algorithm, and folks, they do it on purpose as well. Consumer Reports explain, in my opinion, Consumer Reports explain that the investigation used volunteers who would order rides that would take them from the same location to the same destination at roughly the same time. But the review website did state, Consumer Reports did state some ride requests happened in the same minute. It reported finding that the rideshare companies would return different price quotes, said the median difference was around 50% as well, right? Because it depends on drive. There's only one driver in that market and two people want to go to the same place at the same time. Prices are going to go up for the second person as they have to haul somebody. Even though drivers don't get that, the company will split it over. Uber and Lyft both disputed the report's foundational numbers here and kind of their conclusion that the requested rides were equivalent because both companies noted how quickly their algorithms adjust fares to market conditions. Now that's that surge pricing that this industry is known to be very fond of out there. Uber explained its system updates in real time. Lyft said 2 minutes can make a big difference in prices. Uber, the dominant leader in this marketplace, went on to argue that the way the tests were run made it difficult to know if the requests came in at the same time. Yeah, that's what they claim. That's their excuse to kind of push it to the side as well. Um, Uber also pointed, or Lyft said it as well, and Uber echoed Lyft's point that when people are requesting rides, fares tend to rise. That's why when you go to a ball game and everybody comes out and 100 people request rides right at that moment, prices are going to go up instantly because of the demand in that side. I know two doesn't sound like a lot, but their algorithm set up. If you're so like where I am right now, if I leave here and I order an Uber and I just have bad luck and somebody down the road orders the same Uber or orders an Uber as well, one of us is getting higher prices because according to their algorithm, the demand is sky high in this market. Yeah. Yeah. Uber also offered, they're kind of mirroring their same deal because they're right. It's their algorithm based, is what they do. They take advantage of the algorithm and blame it on that out there. Hmm. You believe it? That's the bigger. I mean, it's happening. Their algorithm's allowing it to happen, but is it right? Is it proper? mm, taking advantage of you out there. And I'll tell you this also, it doesn't go to the driver, it goes into their pockets as well. And folks, are you a Rolex fan? How big of a Rolex fan are you? Is the bigger question here. Rolex has opened a boutique up in the Swiss Alps. Matter of fact, about 10,000 feet up in the Swiss Alps. Yeah, it's very hard to get to it. What are they doing? Now, luxury brands, they always want to make it look for ways to give you an experience when you're buying their very, very pricey products out there. Well, Rolex has opened what is the world's highest Rolex boutique atop Mountain Titlis in the Swiss Alps. I don't know if I'm saying that mountain right. Located inside the new Titlis Tower at nearly 10,000 feet above sea level is where it's at. It's only accessible after a long journey involving planes, trains, and the first rotating cable car that climbs above a 5,000-year-old glacier cave and all across the Swiss Alps snowfields as well. It's how you get up there. Yeah. Now you get up there and you get to a Rolex place. Yeah. Where you can also buy a 10,000, 20,000, 30, $50,000 watch as well. Yeah. So Rolex isn't the first luxury brand to build in a remote location, but it is probably the most difficult to visit out there. Now, what's the cost here? If you want to go see this for an American traveler now, the trip starts with a flight to Switzerland, so 600, $2,000 depending on how you fly one way as well, or round trip, I should say, as well. Summer travel can be more than winter travel, for instance. Then you take a train from Zurich Airport to Engelberg. That's the Alpine resort town that sits at the base of Mount Titlis, just about 35 kilometers from Lucerne, if you are familiar with that area. The train journey from Zurich takes about 2 hours, and 2 hours, folks, and it costs about $35 to $50 each way via Rail Europe. You're already a few thousand into this trip as of right now. Then you have to purchase a cable car ticket to reach the summit of the mountain. A round trip ticket on the Titlis Express and rotating Robar gondola, about $142 as well. But where are you going to stay on this trip, right? Hotels in Engelberg vary a lot. Travelers can generally expect to spend between $180 and $400 per night for a mid-range property there in that area as well. Luxury alpine resorts can easily climb close to $1,000 per night if you want to, go a little bit more expensive for you there. Yeah. A 3-night trip could cost an American traveler upwards of $5,750 before you even step foot into the Rolex boutique as well. The lowest cost watch on Rolex's website right now, lowest cost retails for $6,200 on their website. Yeah. You're spending as much on the trip to get there as it would cost you to just buy one of the watches and have them ship it to you out there. Yeah. The most expensive watch right now goes for $186,000. That is a diamond studded Lady Datejust. Yeah. Yeah. So, would you go on this? Are you interested in it, Rolex fans, as well? Yeah. For the boutique up there. You can buy a watch in an exclusive location. There's nothing unique about the watches at this boutique. They're just standard Rolex watches. It's the experience that you can say you bought it up there. Would you do it? No, is my answer. I don't care what it could be a gold bar and I ain't going through that much effort. Phew. I love me some M&Ms. And now we have an August launch date for new style of M&M out there. Dye-free candies, which is interesting about this story is one, they're healthier, right? Which is everybody's going towards that. But you're going to be missing two popular colors because it's dye-free as well. So in August, artificial dye-free candies of M&Ms, they will be coming out. So they were able to use natural sources like beets or turmeric to replicate colors like red and yellow. Shades of blue, well, that's an issue here. And it's very expensive, very hard to create. naturally, and so blue is not one of those colors as well. So, blue and brown's artificial coloring has been possible, obviously, with the artificial side, but very expensive to do it naturally out there. So, turmeric is the product that you can use to make those two colors. It's available in bulk from most wholesalers for prices in the $9 to $10 per pound range, is what they use for the artificial dyes. The natural dye is called spirulina, is what you need for blue or brown. It can be a lot more expensive, $20 per pound at similar wholesalers at that point. So, Mars just said we're not going to do those two colors out there. By the way, the concentrated form, which is used for food dyes, and it's usually priced at $100 per pound from that side as well. So, yeah, the also the spirulina, when they've been testing it, it's clogging all of M&M's machines, spray nozzles to make the colors, so it's hurting the manufacturing equipment as well, which obviously drives up pricing as well. So it's driven Mars into this dilemma. They wanted to debut its altered product ahead of the company's 85-year anniversary in August. Spent millions of dollars trying to find a way to get these colors out there and keep them healthy as well. And they just decided a three mix color of red, orange, and yellow is what Mars had considered doing at the original site as well. But they thought that those colors were more too sunsetty. People would take that as a rainbow, kind of like a Skittles, or people would take that as M&M's possibly going away because of the sunset colors. Yeah, they thought that in their meetings as well. So 85-year icon being a mess with to get healthy again here as well. So blue and brown M&Ms will not be included in the initial dye-free lineup. Now, they're going to keep working on it. They say those colors will be introduced by 2028, they're hoping for, but they're not going to be the initial run out there. They announced a plan to have artificial dye-free products in 2016. Of course, they said back then consumers don't care, so we're not going to do it now. Well, now, obviously, with the Trump administration in there and the MAHA, right, Make America Healthy Again with Robert Kennedy Jr., they've now said they're pivoting to natural dye options again. Kind of that pressure, right, to go into that. Some states like West Virginia have put a law in there as well that you can't have artificial colors in there moving forward. So no blue or brown M&Ms, folks, coming up here for you. If you're an M&M fan, if you buy the natural dyes, I do understand the other colors are still, the artificial colored ones are going to still be available out there. Adam texted in and said, "Careful." Sounds like I was about to say something I probably shouldn't have said. I don't know what that means. Folks, appreciate you joining us here for this McCollum on Business Edition. Technology problems, but we got through it here as well. Main event coming up next, 8 to 10 a.m. live here on YouTube as well. Come and join us there. We'll see you then, and we'll see you tomorrow here, McCollum on Business, 7 a.m. Come and join us.